At the end of 2016, I set myself a goal to go on one trip abroad every month over the coming year. That's 12 months, 12 trips. And guess what? I didn't quite make it. But I did a pretty good job with 11 trips in 10 months. So this is going to be a recap, my 2017 travel diary, if you will. So let's start from the beginning. Back in January, I took my first ever trip to Portugal and went on a long weekend to Lisbon with my friend L'Oreal. We always have so much fun together, and our first trip away together was no exception. We laughed, we chatted, we tried our first Portuguese custard tarts together, which were amazing by the way. We danced the night away and we made new friends. This trip really cemented our friendship, and it's a weekend full of moments that still make me laugh thinking about them now. I really loved Lisbon. In February, I took a trip to Germany and headed to Hamburg with my friend Chloe. It was my second time in the city, and this time I got to explore new areas and got a whole new feel for the place. It was Chloe's first time there and she loved it too. We biked around the city, we took a boat tour which wasn't in English, we ate so much good food and found some of the cutest vegan food spots, and we even had vegan currywurst, which was so good. It was just so nice to be able to spend some quality time with one of my close friends whilst exploring someplace different. Just a week after my Hamburg trip, I was off to Oslo, Norway, with a group of girlfriends, two of which I've known since I was 5, along with 2 of their close friends. This was probably one of my most random trips to date, and we had a bit of a rocky start when we realised we booked our flights to the wrong airport. Oops. This didn't dampen our spirits though, and we still had fun on the 90-minute coach journey from the airport to central Oslo. Another thing we hadn't accounted for was the snow. I know, Oslo in February, what were we thinking? Can you tell we didn't do our research here? Regardless, we still had so much fun. The only dampener was on the way back when our flights were cancelled, yet it was due to bad weather. It meant we then had to travel back from the airport to the centre again and stay an extra night. Then we had to book new flights the next morning to take us back to England via Hamburg. It was a bit of a nightmare at the time, but we made it home in the end. After all that cold weather, I needed some sunshine, and at the end of March to the start of April, it was time for a long weekend away with Damien, and so the 2 of us headed to Malaga in Spain. I'd been once before for a job, but this time it was nice to be able to chill out in the city and explore it a little bit more. We enjoyed wandering around the old town and sitting out in the sun with sangria. It was the perfect little weekend away, and it was just what we needed. May came around quicker than expected, and this time I was heading away for work. I got flown over to Faro in Portugal, where we stayed and shot in a luxury villa in Vila Moura. This place was amazing, and whilst I was there for work, I also had so much fun. I got to work with such a great team, and even when the days were long, I really couldn't complain about getting to shoot by the pool and the beach. After my shoot, I was back home in Manchester for a day, and then Damien and I were off on a trip together again, this time to Eindhoven. It was my first time visiting the Netherlands, and whilst Eindhoven may not be the most likely tourist spot, we honestly had such a good time, and I really did love visiting this city. We spent most of the time eating because, let's face it, that's one of my favourite things to do, and there were so many good restaurants and bars to hang out in. We had one very boozy night in particular, hanging out with the locals, and overall our weekend in the city was so much fun. In June, I was back in Hamburg with Chloe again. Clearly we couldn't keep away, and this time we also took our friend Jasmine along with us. This time we knew our favourite areas in the city, and so we went back to a few of our favourite spots, and of course we had to introduce Jasmine to the vegan currywurst, and of course she loved it too. I skipped a trip in July, which ended up being a pretty busy month, and then in August I returned to Portugal for a 3rd time, this time visiting Porto for just under a week. I jetted off with Damien again, and we had the most chilled week hanging out in the beautiful coastal city. I say chilled, we actually ended up walking a lot, 94,000 steps within the 6 days to be precise, but it was just too much of a beautiful place not to fully explore. We ate, we drank, port of course, and we had an amazing time. The week after Porto, Damien and I were off again, this time to Dublin in Ireland just for the night. We took my friend on a surprise night away for her birthday. And then the week after that, I was off again, this time to Denmark for 5 nights away, spending some quality time with my mother in Copenhagen. The first couple of days of our trip, it poured it down, but by the 3rd day it cleared up. And once we were able to start fully exploring the city, we quickly fell in love with it. There is so much to see and do in this city, not to mention that it's so picturesque. The food was amazing, which is good because my mother and I both like to eat. We laughed so much, we explored, we had fun, we caught up, and really just had the best time. It's definitely a trip I'll always remember. Before I knew it, it was October and I was off to Mallorca. Damien and I went away with 2 of our friends and had a mostly tech-free trip. I literally took about 10 not very good pictures on my phone, but honestly we had the best time. Sometimes you just need to switch off and be fully in the moment, hanging out with friends, having fun and not thinking much about anything else. And then we returned home from our trip. It was soon November and to be honest, I didn't feel much like going on any more trips for the rest of the year, all 2 months that was left of it. I was done, I was tired out, but I was also happy. I feel fulfilled. My year, what I wanted my year to be, has been a success. I know it's not completely over yet, but as I look back, I don't just see this as the year that I made a bit of a wild New Year's resolution and went on a load of random trips, but as the year that I did exactly what I wanted to and got to spend quality time making great memories with some of my favourite people in the process. Yeah, it turned out pretty good.